Yeah, exactly, exactly. But no, I saw your LinkedIn post today. When does could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I've been involved with Charles Sturt since 2018.
Yep.
Sort of came out of a few other relationships, but I sort of took over all their entrepreneurship programs and developed a 10-week initiative called Ready to Launch. And
Yep.
it was really for individuals with ideas, or small businesses or projects at work. And this is really important when it comes to entrepreneurship education, that it's not just some, young male dude with a hoodie on in a garage, right?
Yep.
Um, Entrepreneurship happens everywhere. And most of the time it happens in larger organizations. So I focus on getting people to think differently and to act entrepreneurial, right? So, and more so now in the Indigenous space, we're wanting to build out the confidence, we're wanting to build out the network, we're wanting to build out the opportunity that exists for all our mob, for all our communities, to come together and look at generating wealth in a different way. Um, so, so Charles Sturt obviously eventually contracted me for their Indigenous innovation programs.
Yep.
And this is the third in the pipeline. We've done one down on Wiradjuri in Wagga Wagga. We did a Indigenous health program up in Biripi in Port Macquarie last November, and now this one out on Wiradjuri in Orange is our third sort of entrepreneurship initiative that we're rolling out. And Charles Sturt are great because they are in the regions. They are in eight regional communities. Um, and also I've got a bias because I grew up in Port Macquarie. So, and they're in Port Macquarie. So
Yep.
match made in heaven.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why I did that post a week or two ago, where I mentioned that universities need to do a better job in engaging not just industry and government, but being able to target community, because they're coming to community and they're going, this is what we're offering, but they're not targeting them in the way where they're building the programs around the community, and they're not in the community, I feel.
Yeah, and look, I need to be careful, right? Because
Yeah.
I I have a number of university contracts,
Yeah, no worries.
but but also I think universities possibly shouldn't be delivering entrepreneurship programs because we need to live by doing. We
Yep.
need to learn by sharing, and we need to learn by relevancy, right? So, look, I'm happy delivering entrepreneurship programs on behalf of universities,
Yep.
okay, because there is a line of sight that I am an entrepreneur. So, just to break it down for you, Ben, I got the Scale Institute, which delivers entrepreneurship education and innovation training.
Yep.
That's 100% owned and led Indigenous business. Um, I when I started that business, I also knew I needed to be an entrepreneur at the same time. Scale Institute is a consultancy. It's a learning design company. It's not an entrepreneurial venture. So when I wanted to start my own business, I knew I needed to be an entrepreneur at the same time. Otherwise, I'd just
Just
be I
yeah.
thought I'd be similar to universities. I'd be similar to government agencies that develop these programs, but their house isn't on the line.
Yep.
You know, their job isn't on the line. from the next customer that they bring in the door, they will just cancel the program and move on to the next shiny toy.
Yep.
Okay. So I do work for government. I do work for universities, and I respect them being enablers. Okay. Being able to finance, sponsor these programs, bring in their community and allow good things to happen. So what you said is accurate. It's extremely accurate. And, I developed a lean startup approach to this. So the idea around lean startup, which is an innovation method that got born out of customer development, and that Steve Blank out of Stanford University created. He talks about he sort of championed it with the author of the Lean Startup, which is Eric Ries. So I had to qualify that, otherwise Eric might come at me.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm doing it wrong. But the Lean Startup is, we build with our customers, we
Yep.
build with our community, we build with the market opportunity so that there's a fit. So if I was to consult to any universities or any government departments, is okay, we need to go out and do the user research. We
Yep.
need to go out and speak to community. We need to garnish all their fears, their frustrations, their problems. Okay. But also find out what excites them, what delights them, what makes their lives easier, so that we can really understand from an empathetic lens what we then need to go out and start to test. Okay. Because if we can get into that mindset, and it's another innovation method called design thinking. Okay. But there's so many methods, right? There's so
Yeah.
many,
So many
there's
theories,
so many tools,
models.
but we've been doing this for thousands of years. Okay.
Yep.
So this is where Indigenous innovation transcends into the existing innovation systems. We could identify how we could grow, yeah, our native grasses differently, or how we could use traditional burning methods to ensure we were the most productive
Yep.
in our agriculture crops, things like that. So it's all around going out and testing our assumptions, either validating or invalidating what works and what doesn't, and double downing on the good stuff. That's an entrepreneurial approach. So
Yep.
I can't, I'm not going to sit here and say it comes from, Stanford University, or, our mob 70, 80,000 years ago. Okay. It's just part of our lived experience. And I've got a toolbox, like everyone else has a toolbox of learning.
Yep.
Okay. You pick up stuff from everywhere, right? And, because not one size fits all, not one tool or method or mindset can solve everything. So what is apparent is that we need to have an ability to think and decide on the best approach.
Yep.
And we don't know what will happen, but that's a good thing about it. What we know will happen most of the time is it will fail.
Yep.
And we need to be comfortable with that and accepting of that, and actually credited for the failures, because what we get out of failure is a learning. Okay. And what we learnt from it will make sure that we build it better next time.
Yep.
And if we do that on a number of occasions and in an iterative method, which is a lean startup approach, then we get closer to fitting with the market opportunity, And, I'd love to tell you that it's not just about commercial opportunities. Entrepreneurship is not just about making money. Okay. That's the Western lens of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship for myself, for my immediate family, that's the traditional approach. But
Yep.
if we take an Indigenous lens on it, it's what is best for community, what is best for our people, okay? What's best for our land, our spirits, yeah, and the next generation. So, I had this chat the other day that being 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 a black business, having that cultural responsibility makes it a lot harder
Yeah.
to build sustainable businesses because we have to operate in two different worlds. And I don't want sympathy here. I just want that acknowledged that having and running a business is hard enough. Yeah. Having a business and running it, and then having the community be responsible, okay, or at least custodians of the business outcomes,
Yep.
it's exceptionally harder. And there's obviously a lot more weight that is put on our shoulders. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that was my second post after I acknowledged. Thank you for what you shared about how you target government and trying to build these innovation ecosystems. Basically, from what it sounds like, um, for community as well as other indigenous entrepreneurs, either in school or young, or being able to facilitate and create an environment like I liken an innovation ecosystem or an environment, entrepreneurship, the whole environment like mangroves. Well, culturally, you have the land, you have the sea, it meets the fish, the crabs, all of it, the birds, everything plays its part. Where it's this beautiful ecosystem that's been there for thousands of years, where we're
Absolutely.
able to come and take and give back. And from what you shared, you put the nail on the head where the hardest, I the difference between normal entrepreneurs and businesses that just want money compared to what you said is that cultural reciprocity where it runs deep into our identity for
Mm,
generations and thousands of years, and that's what makes us who we are. And
mm,
to navigate that is one of the hardest things, is going, how can you navigate sustainability as well as scalability with
yeah,
businesses
absolutely.
in giving back to the community and your family? And it's a tough balance. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a tough balance, but I think we're meeting the market. We're meeting the rest of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So they say that the next 1,000 unicorns, that is billion-dollar companies, are going to be climate focused. Okay. So have some value proposition around mitigating climate change.
Yep.
Okay. So to do that, a business, an organization, a founder must have an authentic connection to improving
Yep.
the world, making it a better place before they leave. Okay. So, I mean, we've been doing this since day dot, right?
Yep.
So we are the original social entrepreneurs. So social entrepreneurship has its own sector
Yep.
of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but from just us being us and us having our cultural responsibility and our values, okay, to traditional and or tangible and intangible Indigenous heritage, things like that, we must protect Mother, right? So we are social entrepreneurs, even though that we don't have the term social entrepreneurs, we're just part of the Indigenous ecosystem. So where I'm seeing this, and because I transcend between both ecosystems, Indigenous and non-Indigenous entrepreneurial ecosystems,
Yep.
a lot of the next generation are talking about the circular economy, talking about climate-related opportunities because they're seeing it. They're trying to right the wrongs of my generation.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we've exploited it. And again, that's another entrepreneurial, I guess, trait is we exploit an opportunity.
Yep.
Now, I use exploit as a better term than exploit what we've done in the past, but we need to exploit the opportunity for good, rather exploit the opportunity for bad,
Yep.
for the environmental degradation or the pollution or the underserved communities becoming even more underserved, things like that. So I think my view is we are hoping to take our methods, our ways of being, our lived experience, our cultural and traditional knowledge systems, and providing it to the rest of the business ecosystem.
Awesome. So it gives a what you just said is a specific direction that I'm sure a lot of the Indigenous entrepreneurs either listening to this or in the Pacific, our Pacific brothers and sisters that we're all Indigenous, is we all focusing on social entrepreneurship, the way it benefits community as well as using our culture and traditional knowledge and giving back to Mother. I really love that. I
Can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also just make a point around following your purpose, because it doesn't matter what your motivation is and what your initiative is, it still needs to be commercial and viable, right? So
Yeah.
it still needs to be sustainable. It doesn't matter how big your heart is, if, and it's simple, business is simple, even though it's hard, it's revenues minus costs equals a surplus.
Yep.
Okay. So as long as you've got a mechanism to keep that opportunity sustainable, you will meet your impact. But it's very important that you find a business model, okay, that keeps the doors open.
I like that.
95% of new ventures fail, right? They obviously fail for a number of reasons, but the top three are running out of money. Yep. That the business model doesn't work. Okay. Or they're, basically haven't found product market fit. Okay. So, we need to ensure, okay, that we're on the path of building sustainability in any of these new innovations.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so hypothetical question. Let's just say, which this is true, and me graduating from the university in Hawaii, BYU, I met all Pacific and indigenous cultures from around the world, First Nations, they all had business ideas, but they were looking for the right business model that you mentioned that's sustainable financially, but also has a very specific purpose, as well as gives back to community, utilizes culture and traditional knowledges, and so forth. So this is a pattern. Here's the hypothetical question: as a young entrepreneur who's wanting to give back to community sustainably, is how do you first target the right customer, which normally it comes from government and university, like these programs that's there to, attract, as well as you can pitch towards them and they can fund, whether it's a research idea or, a simple project that you can test your idea.
Mm,
And how do you make the transition into making it sustainably? Because I feel that,
mm,
for my example, is I'm looking at building an innovation ecosystem in the Pacific, like an innovation hub, and
mm,
modeling it throughout the Pacific. And what the lens that I'm using is research, where I go
mm,
into community, I gather all the data, and we're able to bring the government, industry, and education, and being able to merge it all in this hub,
mm,
and then
mm,
create the change. So I
mm,
just feel that there's a big gap between having your idea,
mm,
finding the right business model or testing it out, the viability that you shared, and then
mm,
also navigating the government, industry, education, just navigating that to just starting it. Because there's an idea, and it the there's the business idea, but we really want to utilize government and industry and education to help us build the business. Does that make sense?
absolutely. I mean, there's so much I can start to talk about here, and I really applaud you for having this vision that goes across, Southeast West Pacific or whatever we call it, and go, nation by nation. But I also would like you to take a lean startup approach,
Yeah.
and an innovation hub doesn't make people more creative, doesn't make people more entrepreneurial. Going through the doors of the center doesn't create more innovation. It's elements, it's a components, it's a things like that. So think about your first experiment would be, can we do this in a virtual way? Can we identify how we can bring all these people together, share ideas, talk about their challenges, opportunities together, and things like that? Now, I've got a platform for that.
Yep.
It's my digital engagement platform, Utopia, right? But I'm not here to sell any of my products or services to you, Ben. But um, I think, what you talked about is, how do we take this idea, make it more sustainable, things like that. Average age of entrepreneurs, okay, in Australia at least, is either side of 40. Okay, that's for a reason. Okay, we don't have many 22-year-old entrepreneurs. They exist, but we don't have many, right? What we need to do as innovators is have a good understanding of what's in the box before we think out of it. So we need to have domain expertise.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're going to go and find a new sustainable way to export, you know, sheep, okay, because right now they die on the boat as live animals, and that really hurts me and my individual values. But if we were to try and find a new sustainable way to export live sheep, okay, you probably need to be from the sheep industry. to know all the players, take an ecosystem approach, work out who the, dominant players are, and identify how a new strategy could actually be executed. Because everyone can come up with a good idea.
Yep.
Okay. We are all creative and curious individuals. Okay. What gets in the way of a good idea is people telling you it's a bad idea, right? So, there's a level of having to defer judgment, be, more concerned about the problem than the solution. And a lot of the entrepreneurial mindset stuff that I build is around that. But I guess we need to have expertise in what we want to build an idea around. Okay. We also need to have the network. Okay. And I'm sorry, but a 22-year-old doesn't come out of school, come out of university with a network, okay, that could build a sustainable business model, right? So we need to encourage that. We need to, have these systems and safe spaces in place that they build up their network, okay? Because we want that network to be their first customer. Yeah, that industry partner being their first customer. The government providing additional research capability, okay, to build out this new R&D of, whatever they're trying to solve, right? So we can all work together, but we all also need to know our parts, okay? Because, 3 + 3 adds more than 6, right? So, we can take exponential steps forward if we collaborate. Okay. But we can only collaborate if we have the expertise, if we have the network. Yeah. And then if people are willing to come on board with our idea. Okay. So that we forget people, the naysayers, the ones that are saying, no, that'll never. What do you mean you want to solve climate change? That's too fucking hard. Right? It's not. It's just because people tell us it's hard.
Yep.
Like, we can say whatever we want about Elon Musk and his political views and all that and things like that, but he, formed his profile by tackling wicked problems. We need more people to be able to think like him. Like, I'm talking just entrepreneurial ideas. I'm not talking about his other
Yeah.
views and things like that, because, with everyone, we've all got things that we don't like about ourselves, right?
Yeah. And then thanks for sharing that, Stephen. And so with young entrepreneurs, when they have a business idea and they have a viable model that's sustainable and they've tested, they're on, hey, there's people that are wanting to buy it, there's money there, and they're making a long list of, of their customers. Is for you, how did you execute on engaging, like you mentioned, the experts and the networks, um, into building the foundation and just blowing up the company? How did you
Yeah.
execute on
But, they say, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I take that a step further, and it's how you use the people you know, and use in a positive way, not use in a exploitation way, right? So it's obviously, the network for me has been exceptionally critical, right? Because when you go out and, I guess I'm a hustler, right? I have been selling products and services for 28 years, for my whole career, right?
Yep.
But I know I know that people have to buy into me first
Mhm.
before they get to my product or service.
So they
They
buy into
have
you and your story, your identity, and
confidence.
yeah,
They need to build trust and rapport and things like that. And again, I'm sorry to say, Ben, I think as an Indigenous business, it is doubly difficult because we have the unconscious bias
yeah,
attached to it. Can they fulfill the contract? Okay.
yeah,
You know, are they going to be around in 6 months? You know, I don't want to paint a picture that this is a whole industry, but I also know that 75% of a study of 10,000 people had an unconscious bias towards Indigenous Australians.
yeah,
So it's been proven, right? So, and it continues to this day. So, how do we um, be able to reduce those biases, connect with the network, our brothers and sisters that are non-Indigenous, right? That will allow us into their businesses, okay? And be able to see the benefit without a different lens on it, right? So that's a way that I'd be really working on because it's how you use the people you know. So I say to any of my entrepreneurs, whether they're students, whether I'm coaching them, I say you got to get onto my LinkedIn, right? Like LinkedIn to me
I
has
say
been,
that too. Yeah,
LinkedIn has been an exceptional resource for me because I don't like business cards. I don't keep all that stuff. But, you know, I want you to interrogate my LinkedIn, find the people that would help accelerate your idea further. Okay. Would get you to that next milestone. And I'll make an introduction. Okay. If I believe in that idea, if I believe in that entrepreneur, the social capital will be translated that I make a referral, okay, might make an introduction to that person to say, hey, give them 30 minutes of your time.
yep.
No one's too busy.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. And yeah, that was my number one advice to freshmen going into college as a senior was, network, network, network. You don't know if you found your wife at your first networking event, which I did. You found amazing mentors, and then, LinkedIn actually gave, simply posting on principles related to some of the vision or purpose of the things you're doing, related to some, monetary value or connections or business opportunities, which
I'll tell you,
I find,
I'll,
yeah,
I'll tell you, Ben, that, when I got into the film and TV industry, when I was looking after logistics, I didn't know the ecosystem. I didn't know who was who. I didn't know what a clapper did or a gaffer did, or, I had no idea. I didn't even have a TV at home. Okay. Not because couldn't afford one, but I just didn't like it. Yeah. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be in the salt water. I'm a saltwater man, right? So um I remember I asked someone, okay, who are the three people I need to meet in this industry? Yep. That will then help me learn how this operates. And I got to know the three people. One of them I met last week. It's been my best mate since I was 23, right? So I think that would be the approach
yep.
I would take. Yeah. Who are the three
People I
influencers?
need.
Yeah. That could accelerate my learning into this system. Okay. And then as long as you're genuine, authentic, you know, being able to have Dadiri, which, in our culture is you give, I give. Okay.
Reciprocity.
Absolutely. You know, as I say to my students, yeah, that mostly they're at university, but I say to them, all right, we're going to go out and do some user research now.
Love
We've
it.
got two of these and one of these.
Yeah.
So what are we going to use the most, right?
Yeah. No, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. Well, we got exactly 3 minutes left before it shuts
Oh,
off. But with the last three, I'll rapid fire with some, asking you for some expert insights is what's the number one misconception in Indigenous innovation or business? What's one main piece of advice? And then what's one bold prediction for the future?
okay.
So
So
misconception, advice, and prediction.
I think misconception, I sort of was building up to it around our capability.
Indigenous capability.
We
Yeah.
can't do it. Yeah. What do you mean we can't have an agri-tech innovation? Because what do we know about technology? Yeah.
Yeah.
No? David Unicorn, right? Australia's Michelangelo was a black fella. So, we need to recognize and idolize,
Yep.
those people. Yeah, we got him on the $50 note, but how many people actually
Actually,
know
no, they don't.
how smart he was, what inventions he created? He didn't he didn't get the spoils that,
A normal person would get.
a normal person would get. Yeah, because he was in a time and space that didn't acknowledge that. So I think the misconception is that we don't have the capability. Yep. But I build capability for a living in all the ventures I look at. And anyone can learn.
Thanks, Stephen. And then, so advice and prediction. You got a minute and a half left.
Okay.
Oh, a minute,
Advice.
actually. Sorry.
What's the advice on?
Just on Indigenous innovation. This is people in the Pacific. They have a business idea. They want to do innovation for their community, and they're
Oh,
mostly young.
yeah. I mean, it's exactly what you're telling them as well. Go out and make sure the community wants it first.
Yeah,
Yep.
if it's
Do
ready.
your research, do your interviews, get some thesis together that proves it. And what was the last thing?
Prediction for the future. Where do you see Indigenous innovation in the next
Oh,
30 years?
we got $50 billion of unrealized procurement to take advantage of. So
Okay.
we need the next generation to see this as a viable career opportunity.
Yep. Love it. Thank you for your time, Stephen.